حتصل رسالتك إلى جمهور واسع بشكل فعال.
شبكة واسعة النطاق. آي راديو ليست مجرد محطة إذاعية، إنها شبكة من المحطات المترابطة. لم تكن شريك مع آي راديو. سنقوم ببث برنامجك عبر مواقع متعددة مثل واو، أويل، كواجوك، يامبيو، بور، رنج، ملكال وباليت، وبيضمن أقصى قدرة من التغطية والتأثير.
التواجد الإقليمي: بتمتد بصمة آي راديو إلى ولاية غرب وشمال بحر الغزال، غرب والاستوائية الوسطى، جونغلي، أعالي النيل وواراب. من خلال التعاون مع آي راديو يمكنك التواصل مع المجتمعات المتنوعة والجماهير المستهدفة في المناطق ديل.
مشاركة المجتمع: الشراكة مع آي راديو بتعني التعامل مع مجتمعات على مستوى الشعبي. رسالتك حتوصل للمستمعين في مواقع مختلف، مما يعزز التفاعلات الهاتفة ويزيد الوعي بعلامة تجارية.
التغطية الشاملة: مع محطات في مواقع استراتيجية زي الرنج، ملكال وباليت، بتوفر آي راديو تغطية شاملة بتصل إلى كل من المراكز الحضرية والمناطق الريفية. بتضمن شراكتك مع آي راديو الرؤية عبر منطقة جغرافية واسعة.
ما تفوت فرصة توسيع نطاق رسالتك باستخدام آي راديو. شارك أو أعلن معنا الليلة وخلي صوتك مسموع في جميع أنحاء جنوب السودان.
Welcome to the Sundown Show. On this show, we bring you the movers and shakers of South Sudan and the world over. We engage in debates and discussions that unearth the stories behind the news. And we have our light moments too by chit-chatting about issues that affect our day-to-day life. Stay right here on the Sundown. Join in and be part of the show on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
برنامج سانداون هو وجهتكم للأخبار والآراء والنقاشات والحوارات. استمعوا إلى البرنامج حيث يتحدث فيه أصحاب القرار عن قضايا تؤثر في بلدنا وغارتنا، فقط عبر برنامج سانداون على آي راديو. عينك على جنوب السودان.
Hello and welcome to the Sundown Show on I Radio with me, Madrama James. We begin this hour by focusing on GBV with a specific discussion on that's what kind of services does a survivor of GBV or sexual and gender-based violence required. The survivors of GBV and sexual gender-based violence in South Sudan required a comprehensive multi-sectoral and survivor-centered services that address their immediate and long-term needs. Facilitating action for community empowerment, Face South Sudan, a national organization in partnership with the UNDP, Access to Justice and Rule of Law Unit, with the funding from the Kingdom of the Netherlands, seek to enhance public awareness and understanding of the jurisdiction and mandates of GBV and juvenile courts in South Sudan. To shed more light on this, I'm joined by Mr. Maurice J. Peter, a legal aid officer at Face South Sudan, then Bernard Longa, director from the Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare. Good to have you all in the studios of iRadio. First thing first, allow me to welcome Mr. Maurice J. Peter to give for us a brief background about Face South Sudan as we kickstart the show right away. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm Advocate Maurice John Peter. I'm the legal aid officer for FACE. FACE is facilitating action for community empowerment. It's a national organization, non-political and non-profit making. FACE is legally established and registered in 2015 by the Minister of Justice before the coming in of the new NGO Act of 2016. In 2016, it was also registered by the Relief and Rehabilitation Commission at the national level. FACE is currently working in some specific thematic areas of good governance, protection, taking into the consideration aspects of women, children, including people with disability, and emergency responses, education, food security and livelihood, and also not forgetting about the climate changes. So if you ask about the presence of FACE, the head office is currently in Juba, of course, in Juba County. We also have field locations, like in Maridi County, Western Equatoria State, Wau, Western Baragazal State, and Abia Administrative Area, not forgetting Lake State and Upper Nile. This is where our face is currently working. Thank you so much.
All right, on to that's our topic of discussion. To person who is listening to us for the very first time, let's give a brief understanding of that gender-based violence to him or her.
Okay, thank you so much. Why we are here today, we are trying to create an awareness about the steps, the procedures, like the reporting mechanisms and the referral pathways when it comes to things to do with the gender-based violence cases. This particular project, as I've said, is being funded by the Kingdom of Netherlands and in partnership with the UNDP. So we're also to create an awareness on the existence, the mandates, the jurisdictions of the GPV and the juvenile court, maybe in some of the upcoming subsequent talk shows. But today we shall be specifically talking about the gender-based violence, because we know that gender-based violence is any act that's being done to a person based on the sex of the person, or whether he or she is a man or a woman. You know, a violence that is against a specific gender, for instance. If a woman is being beaten because she's a woman, that's what we call a GPV, or gender-based violence. There are very many cases of gender-based violence, like, for example, it can be physical, emotional, economical, and many others. But we just want to tell listeners that let's also try to differentiate between a GPV case and other cases, because a gender-based violence can be a criminal case. There are some other criminal cases, like, for instance, if a man fights a man, that's not a GPV. But if you fight a woman because of her sex, then that's a gender-based violence. So that's why we are here, to create awareness on the referral pathways. So what happens, like, if a gender-based violence case happens in a community?
All right. Before we move deeper with our conversation, you mentioned something very interesting, that if a man fight a man, it's not GBV. Why?
The definition of gender-based violence is, it's from the word gender. Is a violence that is being based on the sex of the person. Like for instance, if a man beats a woman, or a woman beats a man, that's gender-based violence. But woman to woman, man to man is not a gender-based violence. It's based on the gender of the person. That's why you do a particular act. So as I said, the act can be either via like a physical act where you beat the person, it can be emotional act where you insult, in economical. There are very many types of gender-based violence.
All right. And now, briefly as well, why do you think it is really important to educate the citizens about GBV at the moment?
Thank you so much. Currently we are going through some of the reports which indicate that South Sudan is the second highest country in Africa when it comes to gender-based violence cases. And taking our history, like where we have come from, with a lot of conflicts and the civil war, this is an environment that encourages gender-based violence, because in terms of war, people tend to use gender-based violence like a weapon to defeat the other side. So you find that an environment where there is war, actually, the rate of gender-based violence is very high. And based on the report that the partners have done, it normally indicates that South Sudan is at a risk because the number is too high. That's why we specifically choose to talk about, and our partners choose to talk about, the gender-based violence. How do we reduce the gender-based violence? If you see the coming in of the JBV and the juvenile court, these are only the special courts that we have in South Sudan. So it was done because of that, to respond to the higher rates of the GPV cases. And that is because in all the states in South Sudan, we always get the reports, like how many gender-based violence cases were reported, and the rest, and what are the procedures that have been taken, and how many of them were brought to book, like the perpetrators. You find that there's sometimes delays in the proceeding. So that's why the government and the other partners came together, like the Kingdom of Netherlands and UNDP. They came together and have the idea that let's have a special court that will be trying specifically GPV and juvenile cases. Yeah.
Yes. Lastly, before I invite Director Bernard, what are some of the common cases from all the research Face South Sudan has so far carried?
Okay, thank you so much. most of the cases that are being reported in the GBV court or in other police centers include things to do with rape and domestic violence. South Sudan, as we got our independence, as I said, from 2011, it was not long that we went back again to violence in 2013, 14, 15, 16. So in those areas where there's heavy fight and the rest, women are at risk of being raped, and rape cases are so higher when it comes to GBV cases compared to domestic violence, like an act of beating, maybe emotional violence of insults, this kind of things.
All right. Thank you very much. Over to you, Director Bennett. I have hosted some health expert in this particular talk show, but their concern is, most of the service provided by the NGOs, be it either national or international. So one ministry where you are coming from, that's gender, child and social welfare, what kind of services are you providing together with the partners to see that cases are handled on time? Number two, you realize that in most cases, people are facing some other difficulties based on the history of the country. There are some places that does not have the health facilities in such a situation. What next? Welcome.
Thank you, my brother James, for hosting us and the listeners of Mirai
iRadio.
Of iRadio. My name is Bernard Longa Clement, as he introduced earlier, and I work at the State Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare as one of the directors in this ministry. Back to the question about the services that we provide. First, we appreciate the role of the partners like FACE and others out there who are really doing a lot of work in supporting the government of South Sudan, and in a special way the government of Central Equatorial State, in providing services, particularly on GBV, because as he already mentioned, GBV is on a rise almost on a daily basis. It happens. Reports come to us every day or every now and then on occurrence of GBVs which are reported in various places, be it in the hospital, in the police stations, at the family level, almost everywhere. And so the reports are so alarming that we actually need to stand together as a government, because our mandate is very key as a line ministry that is concerned with provision of these services, basic services for our citizens in South Sudan, including GBV. Right now, what we do is, like the Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare, it has deployed a number of social workers to work at the police stations, in the hospitals, and in some relevant institutions. That is to assist survivors of GBV to manage the issues that they face out there. Because sometimes when they go out there, there are a lot of issues getting the forms, they are not aware of the procedures, who to approach, and how to get help when they're confronted with such cases of GBV. So our ministry provides the human resources, who are the social workers, and we work together with the lawyers, like my brother here, the legal aid personnel, the medical personnel, and then the police officers to carry out the investigations in the police station in case these cases are reported. So these are some of the services that we provide, and not only sending the social workers or deploying the social workers in this respective. There are people, when these actions really happen, you find that the person is either injured in the process, harmed or injured, and that needs some health service. She needs to be referred to the health medical personnel to give the service of the first aid. Also, first aid, what's very important is, that person goes through a situation of psychological problem, the mind is disturbed because of the action that has happened to him or her. And so the most important action that we do is to give psychosocial support, to talk to that person, try to give him or her some support, so that actually she manages the situation that that person is going through.
All right.
So,
All right. Thank you, Director Bernard. Let's first head out for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we shall be talking about that the referral pathway right here.
في سنة 2025 سلطة إيرادات جنوب السودان بدأ فصل جديد في تاريخه الاقتصادي. قروش الليموت إيرادات الشهري كان مسهل، وصل ل 130 مليار جنيه جنوب سوداني، ونجاح ده برجال للتحول الإلكتروني أو الرقمي. برنامج المعروف بإي جوفمنت اللي كان عملوه في مستوى البلد كله في سنة 2021 الطوروا شغل الخدمة العامة البقى حديث، وعززوا أنظمة بيانات، وسيبوا لمتقروش تإيرادات أسرع وآمن وأكثر شفافية. الليلة حالات فساد ناقصوا وكفاءة زيدوا، وكل دفع أو تحويل الإلكتروني يشيلوا بلدنا أو أمتنا تجاه استقرار وازدهار لناس كله. سلطة الإيرادات جنوب السودان بينادي كل الهيئات الحكومية وشركات التنمية والمواطنين عشان هم بيستعجل وهم بيشتغل نحو التحول الإلكتروني الكامل. سوا من خلال التحول الإلكتروني والتعاون جنوب السودان بيقدم لقدام، بيكون أقوى وأكثر شفافية وكمان أكثر اتحاد من أجل التقدم. سلطة الإيرادات في جنوب السودان، رقمنة الإيرادات ودفع عجلة التنمية.
You are right where you deserve to be. Your eye on South Sudan.
Indeed, you are right where you deserve to be. This is iRadio, and my guest in the studio is Mr. Morris and the director Bernard, and we are talking about that GBV right here. Before the commercial break, I said when we come back, we shall be talking about that the referral pathway. Now, I would like also to bring on board that's the director Bernard. Can you please explain to the listeners of this very show what are some of the services or cases of that gender-based violence in line with the current referral pathway in Juba? And I will equally give the chance to that Morris to also add on that. Welcome.
Thank you. We have a number of cases, as my brother explained, that are very rampant in Juba. Like the example of sexual assault or rape. This one happens on a daily basis. Sometimes you hear cases of a girl or a woman being raped by more than 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 men or boys. And these are things that are happening out there in our communities in Juba and South Sudan. We have cases of wife beating. These are very common. It becomes a very common phenomenon for us to see that sometimes, even without proper reason, you find that we tend to be very violent to our partners in their houses. They are beaten, physically assaulted, psychologically even. You create a certain situation of situation where that person is disturbed emotionally because of maybe the hardships or the abuse, the insults. You are not a good man, you are not all this type of person and all this kind of thing. And that person becomes very worried. What is it that has changed to make me to be a bad person or a bad woman or a bad girl or maybe a bad husband? Because sometimes GBV is not only about men doing bad to women. There are also powerful women out there who mishandle their men out there.
Mishandle how?
some of us, I know we hide it out there, but sometimes we are also beaten by our men.
Yeah. Okay.
So this happens. Yeah, we have had what we are.
But why men are not reporting?
Because of the stigma. Because it will be a shame for me to go and tell my neighbor, like Maurice here, say, oh, you know, my wife did me ABC. So we tend to hide and do away with it. So these are things that happen out in the world.
All right, Maurice, over to you.
Okay, James, let me try to come in. I don't know whether I can try to maybe talk in Arabic because في جزء من مسمينتا اي راديو بكون ما بيسمع انجليزي.
نعم.
مسمينتا اي راديو منظمة فيتس ليلة في استوديو اي راديو مشاركة مع منظمة UNDP وعندهم funding من منظمة the Kingdom of United Netherlands. عمل تهوية لما تنين في مرحلة gender based violence like GBV or ديد المرأة ولا ديد السكسي. So كان ده في طريقة توك تيرال جاسل. إذا ما جبنا دايركت أكلم في ريب كيسز بياسل أو في domestic violence بياسل بيدوغو مرة مثلا for instance في بيت ولا مرة ذات بيدوغو راجل بتاع في بيت ولا boyfriend بيدوغو girlfriend, you know, it happens.
No.
So دي يتلون من مساعدات ولا يتلون من خدمة السجلات ديرو إذا كان ريب كيس أسل ولا كان في domestic violence أسل مثلا. The first important thing أنا دايما consider is the medical treatment for instance or medical attention. لأنه ما زي direct أكلم maybe في process الراب ولا في domestic violence كان دجوزول ولا حاجة بشكل بكون في injuries زول بكون لجوا. So the first thing we look for is the medical treatment. Medical treatment that ita kanano around Juba is being considered to be done in Juba Teaching Hospital. We have a one-stop center. I'll give hold like the first-hand cases. Kanda legal issues the first thing you need to rush there to Juba Teaching Hospital where you can get all the services. So the second service I'll give as a director Kalemda, there's need for psychosocial support. Psychosocial support is all become dramatized. You know, it happens like it causes kind of isolation. Biji mushkila like a till survive at gender-based violence. But in the community, he or she needs someone to give a psychosocial support. A psychosocial support is a magibe director Kelemu in the social workers fi ministry bitam. The Gender, Child and Social Welfare Central Equatorial State. And these social workers are being deployed like in the police posts, in the police stations. So can Jibu survive at the gender-based violence? Zolda, the social worker, the lazim biamo psychosocial support. Laanta bligozol bukun dramatize, moko bitua bukun fikri kois bahama na jata. Fikri jata ina batal. Lakin kan udilo psychosocial support, it will calm the person. The other thing which is very important also, the person needs to know is a legal aid, because a survivor to report a case, he or she needs to be educated on things to do with access to justice. How do you go about reporting a gender-based violence cases? If it happens in, for instance, we are in Juba now, if it happens in Moniki, in Ulologo, those suburb, like the areas, it abrafia to Mahala Center be report these cases, which is very, very important for a survivor of gender-based violence to know that I can ask the third thing, maybe the last one, maybe not the second or the last, is the place of the safety. Like for instance, the person needs to be safe, because it's a matter of what the perpetrator intends to do. That particular family or the survivor himself or herself needs safety. And safety they community members are organized, masalan the youth leaders, the women leaders, at the community base. They will first of all provide safety for this kind of people. Because perpetrators are not people to joke with. Others are people who are having guns. Others are people who are in uniform. So they will try to maybe to cause a threat to the family. So they need to be protected.
All right.
More especially when the person, the survivor, is a juvenile, for instance, or is a child. There is high risk that he or she can be tampered with to destroy the evidences.
No.
And this medical examination is advisable for a GBV survivor to have it within the 72 hours. Because some other sexual transmitted diseases that can be controlled within the 72 hours. Like
it need no seven.
It need no seven. Masalan kan amor rapping le mara or haja bishkel. Na in for instance for Juba there is a way that there's some medicines that they give you and they see that you are not affected in case can be sexual transmitted disease.
No.
So that's why we're saying it's very important for a survivor to be rushed into a medical center, any nearby medical center, to get a medical help.
No.
Leave along the issues of the police and the rest, it comes later. But medical help and the psychosocial support is very muhimu shadida.
Naam. Ustaz Morris wa baden nana bi erjabardu nefsu swale mudir Bernard بدري ولا زمان انت بيلقى مشاكلات بتاع الرب ما كان خالص عشان انت بيلقى بكون جانا سكر يعني بقبض مرة كبير ولا مرة كبير بقبض جانا سكر وحاجات كتير ما قاصل عليا أستاذ موريس مشكلة وين في شنو مثلا أنا إنه في شنو ناصل في شركات في شنو في ليك ستيت في شنو في داخل جوبايني مشكلة وين بدأ
شكرا كتير بشيل أنا في ليه جندر بيس فايلنس جي حاصل زي ما تقولت كلام بتاعه واحد زي ما تقولت عندنا في peer pressure like from the groups إذا كان جاين perpetrators of gender based violence they are not people who are very far دي ناس القريب وناس ديل the first cause اللي نقول نسبقه ده is the abuse of the drugs لو عينه في issues الأصل في شركات وزي ما تقولت في نادا so these guys are under the influence of alcohol or making opium ولا دي بانجي ولا حاجة بالشكل بالمرة دي شباب في شوارع يشربوا أجا تشيلسيون ولا سنو because they are now being put under the influence of that particular substance ma بقدر control بدون تمون that's why it involves them to do this kind of acts you get me secondly like what we said is before the conflict these things were not there like it means zaman مشاكل أصل these things started coming in which means في habits تانينا الناس جي import from other places الكان ما في أداة تقليد الجنوبين نحن في أداة تقليد الجنوبين إن اكتسب مرة ده وحاجة قوي شديد وزاد حاجة فدية في مجتمع لكن because of these different cultures from other countries ناس الجدور وبالجو so it has imported a lot of negative culture or customs practices في شباب كتير يعملوا.
نعم.
So
مدير برا أنا بيجليتا في أمور بتاعك تشوف كتير في دنيا ده بتاب تغير وين زي أستاذ موريس بقول في كدروات أننا الشباب قاكلوا كمان في حاجات من دولة البرا كمان جيجي في داخل جنوب السودان ديل كمان بكوتو شباب بتنا في مرحلة الخطورة تيب دور بتاع Ministry of Gender Child and Social Welfare شنو عشان كيف كلمات الكل يخففوا.
الدور بتاع الوزارة بتاع Gender Child and Social Welfare له يعني أما حاجة له يعملوا يعني شكل برنامج زي ده له توية إن لازم بيعلم مجتمع بعد من أسرة كيف يتبع علم عيال بطريقة الكويس تحفيز بتاع عيال أو تربية بتاع عيال هو حاجة مهم لازم تربى جينا إذا كان بيت ولا ولد يعني بطريقة كده كويس كل تشيلوا مثال من نتا إنت لازم توريه ده كده ده بطل وده كده ما كويس يعني الزمان أنا قلت جو إنه عيال في زمن تميسة بيلموا كله هاول البارنتس الناس بيجينوا في جامبونار وبوري جسات بوري كلام الكويس وحاجات البطل
ما مشكلة أصلا نار بتاع صلاة إتم يا بدل نار بيجيت كلاس ده تلفزيون مسلسل وشنو تيب فرصة وين
هسه ده مشكلة الهسه إننا فيه يعني زمان برادة تاي كلم إحنا زمان يعني أنا حرب ده ما جديد بالنسبة لنا لكن يعني المشاكل هسه ده يشيلوا حاجات تانين البيجا طرق تانين قبل كده زادوا ما حصل يعني بدري حتى في هنا مفروض كان في مشاكل women and children are supposed to be safeguarded لأنه يتاقي شكل أدو بيتاقى له راجل الجيجا في قدام تاكي بيسيرا لكن innocent child جينا الما عنده أسايا في إيدا مارا الما عنده حاجة في إيدا بيتو يتاقي تاقي له سبب شون فمرات يعني براكتس ده بيحصل إنه أمكن ذاته في زمن بتاع المشاكل الناس ذاته مثلا يشيلوا سلاح ويعني لما نلقى بيته لمرة هو براو بدون بروتكشن وذاته ببدا عملوا عملية معزو وده بار من قانون ما حاجة المفروض بيعمل الدراكس ده زي ما هو موريس كلم ده في العالم زي ما ذكرت هنا العالم بقى خلاص في حاجات جداد في تليفونات بقى خلاص السمارت فونز وين فيسبوك وياتو يالو شباب وناس كله زادوا يتبقى لقونا أي زود مشكول يعني مرات جزء من الحاجات اللي نبيعين وما حاجات اللي ممكن بيساعدون لانه اذا كان زول كان هو بنيه ولا ولد وبكون عينه افلام الناس اللي ممكن يمارس سكس ولا يعملوا حاجات جنس ولا حاجات من نزل يعني الموك هناك خلاص بقى تيون لحاجه ذاك اللي هو قاعد ولا معروف يمكن حاجه دي بطل لكن عشان موك ده بقى خلاص ميلو لحاجه اللي هو قاعد ولا له قاس ما ده خلاص بقى هو زادو جسم واي حاجه هو زادو داير براكتس حاجه الجامعه
نعم
فده جزء من الحاجات اللي بيحصل في المجتمع بتاعنا في
نعم مدير لونغا
نعم.
تابع جنوب السودان بيسمع الكيفو يندو ابواب ويندو كمان شبابيك وابواب ديل وكما يقعد بماسكو زيتم زين حاليا ناسا في جواهيلا ولا في هاي تبيلقى في سدلية وسدلية ديل جزء من ناس ذاته قاعد بيشتغل فيه قلي قوة وراك منيتم بدأتم قاموا لشنا عشان كيف أدوية تهنينا اللي بيقدر contribution بيجيبوا راب كيسز وشنو ديلاس يخففوا بدأ طبعا ما يازول ما بيز بيجين بالطريقة يعني كير مباشر
معروف وزارة الأجندة هي واحد من الانستيتيوشن بتاع الحكومة مثلا ممكن بيعرف إذا منظمة زي منظمة فيس أو محلات الجودي خدمات للناس إذا تشتغل في مجالاته وحتى لنادم سدليات وزارة بتاع الصحة هي واحد من وزارات الجودي شهادة operational license للسدليات لكن طبعا because of the world situation I don't know what I can say about it.
Okay.
هنا بيجي إنه في حاجات كتير اللي ممكن زادوا مفروض ما بكون داخل البلد في. مثلا أنت كان جي أهينه في ترى بتاع أسواق وشنو في حاجات جيلي فيه بكرافة وكده دخلوا في كاسة ما مارونج وشو حاجات من وحاجات ما مفروض بداخل الجوانب.
نعم شكرا.
من كده دخلوا.
شكرا مدير لونغا. Now over to you Ustaz Morris. How and where can cases of that GBV be reported, especially in Juba and some other locations where Face South Sudan is operating currently?
Thank you so much, James. Before I go to, I just wanted to add something small to
ahead.
what the director was saying. You know, it needs an effort of all the sectors to see that these things of the drugs are brought in. Because if you go to the as a kanata alfihila da, these are all the dramadols. With dramadol they can shilo, you know, but marazol babra comes at sita ashara at the same time. The person does not behave normal anymore. The So there's also one type of this GBV where I talk about the early enforced marriages, which is very common in South Sudan. You know, it happens because of the current situation of the poverty and the economic crisis. Because one, people are not aware, like there's ignorance. That's why he was saying there's need for tawiyah, for need for an awareness to be done to the people. Lano nasma biaruf albatal ta GPV de sunu. Masalan kan jozu binia fi hala soker fi channel mufurud agala mintamantashar chana. Making sitashar kamistashar chana biguwa de ragel albukura barbukura ba hasil sunu. Asa fi kesi sta festula ketira algea hasil fi Junub Sudan de kulu banata al sukar algea rusu against their own will. Magua. So simply because some of these parents wondering grush how they just want to maybe something like for to live for instance. Lano alwadi bigger subsidy. Lakini kul zol baeno le binya bitawa al sukere kamsasa wala 14 senade a source of income. That's why uba asur magua masalan le zola zar kebir bad maram mekin bukun mafurudi kuna bule bide lakini bigan la zol end up gar zol end grush zol end snow you must get married to this person that there waltama there. So these are the issues. And these are the causes of some of the most important issues of gender-based violence happening in South Sudan.
All right. Now, how and where can someone report cases of that GPV?
Okay, thank you so much, James. Reporting GPV is mandatory because most of the people don't report some of these GPV cases. That's why the occurrence is on the rise. Lano nasmagi warize magibela director Kelimini, bino ragel making biduguma mara bilel. Fijua ukantala babu ana kana waga fe babu wala shaja bishike lasil obi woskot mabor lano he feels weak ukana wori bino mara dugo bekarabu suma lakin kan mara dema wodi fi police wala ma wodi fi mahala badi bo fogo she will not reform from that particular act. So where do you report GPV cases? survivors of GBV cases have that right and freedom to report an incident to any person of their choice, like within the community. For instance, I'm saying within the community because reporting GBV cases to police stations is mandatory. But there are sometimes in the community where you find there are no police stations, for instance. So we advise that survivors report this kind of cases to, for instance, the community leaders. Like if you are within the community in the Buma, you have the chiefs, you have the headmen, in the religious leaders, in the women group leaders, even the youth leaders, they are there in the community. So if a survivor feels that he or she is safe to report to this kind of people, he or she has the right to report to this kind of people.
Yeah,
because
how about the situation of confidentiality?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because he or she has the right to report to whoever she chooses. Like all these people exist within the community. Like in my case will be confidential, it will be handled well.
All right.
Yeah, okay. So apart from that, we have also the police posts like within the community. Even sectors, but you make sure that you go to the right police. Like for instance, if Mahal can make for police, you go and report there, the nearest place. But the challenge is in South Sudan, the lack of police stations in the rural areas.
All right.
Because it's not only happening in Juba.
All right.
Yeah.
Dear listener, up to this time around, we are giving you this chance to ask you a good question on 0911-022-986-986, or else to drop your comment. That's via our Facebook page. We have Ngui Juachi is watching us from WOW, University of Al-Ghazal. Then Philip Lado is joining us live from that's Mapao along Juba Bor Road. First caller, Hi Radio. Hi Radio.
Madrama.
Are you?
Yeah, you are connecting from Mayom.
Mayom, where are you calling from, my brother? Giada, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to thank all the guests in the studio there, plus the topic which you people are talking about today. I want to thank Madrama James and this guy Peter Morris plus Bennett. I want to ask them about something. Like if a domestic animal like a dog bites a child, how will you address that case into a certain stage whereby someone who is having a child may react to a stage to a stage whereby he may come and kill the dog, and the other person may feel angry and he will grow annoyed because it is our domestic animal. As human, we can keep them. And another thing, Madrama James, there is this violence, how do they call, whereby a woman may overtake or may over-defeat a man to a certain stage whereby if you find that case, how will you address it? So these are the issues and the small things.
A woman overtake how?
Like maybe the man. Because gender is all about the gender, whereby the side of women and man. And not only they are strong. There are some other women who are very strong to protect them.
Okay. Yeah. Mafi Mushkila. My legal officer is right here to answer your question. I read you.
Yes, the new community advisor from Jonglei State, bro.
Welcome, community advisor.
Let me give a great thanks to Morris, and let me salute other guests in the studio, plus you, the presenter of today. My question is very simple to be answered by Morris and other guests. When an old man tried to marry a 16-year-old girl, if cases may start and all humanitarian start talking. And when the old woman married a 16-year-old boy, if we keep silent and nothing can happen, and it is happening here in South Sudan. Sugar mommy that they're playing sex with the young boys. So why are you keep silent
on that side. Number two, when a woman or when a lady raped by a group of people and they fail to expose on social media and that lady keeps silent, do you have anything to say about that? Or if you have anything to say about that, what advice can you give it to those people who usually use social media to expose those things?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's getting interesting right here. And I like the questions coming in from you, our esteemed audience. 091122986986. I read you. All right.
انت في محل بتستهيك تكون فيه خليك مع اي راديو انا تكون في جنوب السودان.
I radio.
Madrama James, good evening.
Good evening, David Magog.
Let me welcome your guest, the studio brother. And I would like to ask them about 2 to 3 questions. Number one, the GBD that is happening in the country, you are training people who are the victim and you don't train those who are committing the crime. Why is it so like that? Because the men and the young people are supposed to be trained so that they refrain themselves from the problem. But you are training now the women and girls who are not committing the crime. So why is it like that? Why are you not training both of them? This is number one. Number two, the GBB issue is not being taken by the government seriously. And that's why you have seen a 60-year-old man can marry underage lady by his lot of cows, lot of money, plots, cars, and she will be given to him by force, whether she like it or not. Why? Because of poverty. When are you going to campaign for this so that you tell the big people to refrain from the right of the small ladies? Lastly, this one become a very big issue now in the parliament. It become very hard for them to pass it. That's why you have seen now there is sugar daddy, sugar mommy, and it's progressing. That trade is supposed to be cancelled. If we come to the right, you have seen now in the constitution of South Sudan, is not giving the right to the under 18 people, like young boys, young girls. Lastly, is about the abuse of the drugs. These drugs are being allowed from the checkpoint, and they have entered the country. It becomes very hard to be controlled, and that's why you have seen very many problems are happening. Why is it not simple for the security apparatus to control such? If they are still existing, it becomes dangerous. If the son of honorable or general is committing a crime, it becomes very hard for that case to reach into the court. Why? Because there are too much threats that was saved in the process. They will even pay the money until the victim will appear and drop the case. As the people concerned, how do you back up such victims? Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear listener. It's really getting tough and tougher right here. I like all your concerns or questions to my potential guests right here. 2 more lucky callers, then I will be giving the chance to my guest here to answer some of your good questions. I read you.
Good evening. I think I'm the one lucky.
Second last.
Thank you very much. You're speaking to me, Mark. I'm calling from side of our Winter.
Mark, welcome.
Thank you very much. Madrama James. I think in the community are still hiding this information where the young girl was raped and woman also. So they don't want to report it to the police. They have brainstorm of hiding the information and then they tackle it at home as a family. So what should be done to such people in order to be able to report the cases to the nearby police station? So this is my question.
Thank you very much, Mark from Wow. Let's now talk to our last caller. Hi, radio.
Madrama James.
Yeah, Ustaz Tolfuk.
Absolutely, this is me. Madrama James.
أيوة.
مبسوط منكم وضيف القاعد في الاستوديو أنا مبسوط.
Hey, معلش أكون تلفوك last call I radio.
Yes, I radio.
أيوة.
There's one معكم في المنقبة توالي.
is born من لمنقبة جوبا.
Yeah.
قدم توالي وسط زمن.
Yeah, أسمع.
أي.
كدن نما لهم أجت مثلا جا من برا ولا أجت أنا أعرف أجت ده عشان بداخل في البلد ده. أنا كريمة لهم من أجماع ولا ناس جا من برا ده. أنا أعرف كلام فرق ده عشان بجا أمرو ما بنات أنا كاب عشان بجا أمرو ما ناس البلد ده.
أجت زي شنو أنت قاصد؟
أجت أجيبي بي على أساس دواير بيجا جيبو على بيجا ما كويس. الناس بابلا أجت الماء كويس الناس بابلا أجت الماء تمام ده أجت في أساس الناس أجت مؤمن لكن الآن في جنوب السودان الآن بعرف كويس كلام تجوز ربنا سوغرنا من في بدي في يلا أجل في جوز تانا تجوز السودان كثير لأنه بنا بيجا لو بالك توالي جي جاجل إيريش توالي مش بالراجل ده جانا بعرف موضوع بتابع على يعني كتب بنا بدنا شنو يكونوا لما تاكلات الموضوع تجيب فيها لا سنقول فوق متى كونده جيب فيه هو مثلا في لكن هو شديد كالس آياته كتير منا مثلا إفكتور ده فلان كتير في السودان هنا لأنه أجد كل قامل ده لأنه بنمر أنا ذات مؤمنين يا قامل بنمر أساكر بنمر منظمات يلا بيجا ناس على عندهم قروش بيجي سامل قروش هم لحاجات ده عشان بيه بعمل أي حاجة تانا لهم درامل.
نعم شكرا.
جديد على تاجي ريبورت أجد ده يلا تابتويت كأنه ما متأكد أجد على كم ريبورت تو زار بداخل المشكلة.
نعم.
كان قامل حاجة كان تاجي ريبورت كيف عنده information على حاجة تاجامل ده وكيف تعرف كيف شكر كويس.
نعم شكرا. Shukran. Kuna is born. Well, first and foremost, thank you, my community advisor, David Magoko, and now we have my brother is born and Mark, plus you told Fuku tried to call, but because of network, I think. I would love really to take more of your calls, but time will not allow me to do that. So let's first start with a question coming in from David Magok, that when it comes to the issue of that gender-based violence, most of the assistance or training is going to the survivors, but not the perpetrators. So, Morris, Ustaz Morris, what's your take on this? And I would like to give each of you 3 questions, minutes to respond to some of these questions right here. Ustaz Morris, welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks to all the callers. I will just make it in a summary form because the 3 minutes will not be enough. Legi derebo survivors more than the perpetrators. You know the problem is, if you ask yourself a question, who are the perpetrators of GBV cases? The perpetrators are not people who are very far. The perpetrators are the same people who stay in the same place with the survivors. So when you are going for the training, does not mean that you are training women alone because they are not perpetrators. Women are the perpetrators of GBV cases. You get me? So people should not misconcept that the perpetrators of GPV are men. Though most of them are men, but women are also perpetrators of GPV. But now it depends on the selection of who are supposed to be trained. That's why we have the idea of men-to-men talk. Men-to-men aspect of approaching GPV cases is where you engage men to resolve the issues of GPV. So maybe you just took it wrong, but the conception is that everybody can be a perpetrator and everybody can be a survivor of GPV. The issue is of len rujal ko nuswan ko bare ya masalan kan juz iyal sukar wala awlad sukar mago difi police. I think the answer is very simple. These cases are not being reported, like what the director was saying. Most of these cases, as Madre Balagolano, I remember like when I was operating the JCCU under UNDP Nyambio some years back, few back bila kana mlo raping matarata banat, and they were all brought to the police and taken to the court. They were sentenced. But it is served as an example in the whole state that we were talking about. Laano nas magi report cases because asa can wole ja wala wole sukere ja balago. Maybe he can feel weak, you know, anama ragel this kind of perspective, you know? But it's very important for us to report cases. Case they can report to lazim the woman can be sentenced or can be taken to the court and the due diligence, like the proceedings will be taken. So
now Morris now
summary-
did this misal white مثلا لو يابا شيلو بيت الأمور 16 وال 15 والله لازم يابا ده بدخل في السجن. لكن لو مرة بكون أمور 40 ولا 50 يلقى ولد بتاع 17 ولا 19 بكلام ما هده دول بارد. مشكلة وين ده سؤال ده؟
المشكلة وين؟ المشكلة ده ما في بوليس يوم واحد كان ترى أسأله بينه في ولد جاري بوت أو أبوته ولد ذاته جاري بوت بينه ولد تعيش لما بارا كبير. It's not there. It's not happening. People are not reporting these cases. Like in Beniade, she comes out and talk about it. Bino Oma there, for instance, as an Jozuma Mazul Kebir there. That's why people will come, like Kalam Al-Belo Gonis Kalam, the social media and the rest. Because the first thing is confidentiality of the case. Kalam can case be at the GPV growth of social media is very wrong. That's why we say you need to be very careful of who you report your case to. Somebody that you trust, that will keep your case confidential and advise you on what to do.
Okay, as you summarize, community advisors saying, more especially those who remain silent on their cases, do some of the legal officers like you have the right to take up the case?
Okay, thank you so much. UNDP is doing JCC in some of the states in South Sudan. And this is one of the things that we normally face. Like, for instance, finance get drop cases. It will be advised like the legal aid. You can give the legal aid because it law after the treatment you obtain the form 8 comes first. You go for treatment. Then you make a case in the police. You go for investigation. This kind of things. You advise the person what to do, but the person will go and sit and say no. I need to get money from the perpetrator. You understand me? So for us, we don't force the survivors to open a case, but we only advise them that this is the right way that they're supposed to do.
Yeah, right.
But sometimes they choose not to do and have the cases open in the police station.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Modu bita dawayatu shuno sedilia jadal kulu getala de dor bita hukuma halisa isbon bukele mushkila wenania junubini haderu bezad wa bezad nasal kaman fi sulta hadera shan shikila jadal basilta bugul shuno ya mudir.
كلام بتاع مكتشف ده هو حقيقة لأنه الحكومة المفروض يعمل بكنترول الدخول أو حاجات اللي جت على بر من دولة لكن أول بيصير إنه حاجات دي خلاص وصل وخلاص جا كله وجا ملو وجا إفكس تو يا ونجاين ف
يلا خلاص بس يجيني زي ده ولا كتبشين
إنه قلنا يعني زي ما إنه جوني سين إنه قلنا تويا عن كولتورا بتاع حاجات دي حاجة إننا جاملو تويا awareness creating awareness لازم بعلم نفوسنا إنه إذا كان حاجات زي دي جاملو نفسه بتوع لازم كلي الناس المسؤولين في محلات دي لازم كلي يحاول حاجة تانية اللي أنا جاين وده يمكن ياو سبب زادو الناس المفروض إننا بكتو في check points ولا في بودرز وشنو ده زول بيجيني 3 4 5 شهر 6 شهر مياتو ما كان زول بيجيبوا حاجة تو الممنوع في بيك ولا في جو عربية أو زول لاين ما بيمدوا له حاجة سكر وحاجة دي بدخلوا وده طريقة الحاجات اللي يمكن مفروض ما بدخلوا جو بلد مليان جو مدينة تجوبة ليه؟ لأنه we are not we are really very sorry because the government is not paying our forces. So how do you expect this person to be faithful to the law?
في 10 ثانية رسالة بتاعك بالضبط شنو في كلمات الكل نازل ونس وسط زمن.
أنا أقول إنه GPV هو إيشو الحقيقة هو قاعد يحصل في مجتمعات بتاعنا أو في بيوت بتاعنا وإن زي ما أنا كلامنا إنه هو دور بتاعك أو بتاعي عشان بونus في حاجات ما كويس اللي يحصل للنسوان أو بنات بتاعنا أو أولاد بتاعنا طبعا GPV ما إيشو بتاعنا واحد حاجة المهم الإيشو بتاع ريبورتينج زول اللي مرة واحد اللي بكون مسؤول عشان بيريبورت كلام ده هو زادو إيتا أبو أو أمة بتاع جان.
شكرا. Dear listener, up to here we have come to the end of our conversation focusing on that GBV and how survivors can equally report and it's a collective responsibility. Thank you Ustaz Morris J. Peter for coming and then Director Bennett Longa. I am your host Madrama James.